Through your determination and desire to conquer yourself, you will one day understand the beauty and wisdom of the Shaolin method. Although harsh at times, training of martial arts will make you realize of the many imperfections within.
So I recently had the opportunity to shoot with a grandmaster of Shaolin Kung Fu. And this was a really, really cool video to shoot. I cannot say it enough times how grateful I am to have shot this and be a part of this project. And I want to talk about how we went about filming it, and then maybe get into a little bit of the editing, but also maybe I'll do a full sound design breakdown because, as you can see from my Instagram post, it was a pretty insane sound design process. So let's break down some of the equipment, the lighting, and how this video came together. I do want to preface this by saying if we had a bigger budget, more people, more time, there are a lot of things I would have done differently, but that's what everyone says. I'm not here to make excuses. I think this was still a really great video. And that is actually point number one, is use what you have available. Sometimes when you get an opportunity to shoot a subject or a sport that you really like or you really have a passion for, just do it. Obviously, we want to make it as good as we can, but if you don't have that $25,000 camera, you don't have a full lighting kit, you don't have the money to rent equipment right now, just do it anyways. And if they have a cheaper budget, I would still say do it. Like, seriously, get the experience, especially if this is something that you've wanted to shoot for a long time. This can be an opportunity to show other people what you can do. And I think a lot of, I don't want to say entitled, but I do feel like some people are a bit entitled when they've never done or shot an industry or, you know, some specific niche before, and they expect to be able to charge what the next guy's charging when the next guy's been doing it for 5 or 10 years. That just doesn't make sense, does it? I'm a big proponent of owning all of my gear and having it all ready and set up and not renting. So renting gives me anxiety because I feel like I'm not going to know how to use the equipment properly. So I really like to own my own stuff and get a grasp on how to use it, if that makes any sense. But you can see in this video, the Grandmaster for the interview portion is actually wearing a lav mic. And this is not ideal if you're trying to do a high-end production slash commercial. But to be honest, this was originally going to be a social media video, and I have absolutely no issue for lav mics being visible for social media or YouTube content. I think that is totally okay. But I ended up making an extra bonus video, which is what you were watching in the intro of this. And I really wish I would have had a Sennheiser 416. That would be a boom mic. But again, we don't have a ton of time. We don't have extra people to do audio. So I wish we had it, but at the same time, it worked out with a lav mic. We had really high quality lav mics there. So it worked out. You know, if I didn't have a boom mic and I would have said, no, I can't do this project because I don't have a boom mic, I just lost a huge opportunity. And I think sometimes we use that as an excuse. We say, oh, I don't have the right type of gear, so I'm not going to do this project. I'm not going to figure it out. Don't make that excuse. But let's transition into the equipment that I did use for this and that I did have available. So we shot the whole thing on a Sony FX6, which is what I'm using to shoot this YouTube video. And we also used a 24-70 Sigma lens, f2.8. Nothing crazy at all. I think a vintage lens could have been absolutely amazing, but again, didn't have access to that right now. I don't have that equipment. So we just did some stuff in post with the color grading to make it look a bit more filmic, and I think it turned out really nice. By the way, if you guys do have any recommendations for what type of lens I should buy next for Sony E-mount full frame cameras, let me know, because I definitely want to get some more variety in my lens options for the FX6. All right, in terms of the other components of the Sony FX6, we had a 99 watt hour V-mount battery at the back. We also had a Mars M1 monitor on the top, just to make sure everything is really sharp and in focus. And that's something that you should have on pretty much any project you're doing, is an external monitor, maybe even a director's monitor, so someone can see what's in focus, what's not, making sure you're hitting every shot really perfectly. The B-roll for this video was almost all shot on a Easy Rig with the FX6 attached, and I cannot tell you how much I recommend the Easy Rig. I say this in every video, and it's true. Easy Rig is a lifesaver for your back if you're doing long run and gun type shoots. For me, I have lower back issues and I'm only 19, so it's brutal. For the audio, we used a Sennheiser MKE2 microphone. So you have the part that goes into your camera and the part that goes on the talent. And then we also have a mic, a lav wire in here, a Sanken Cause 11D, the highest quality you can get. And I recommend, getting a kit like this costs about $1,000, and then on top of that, get a really nice lav mic wire, because that brings up the quality of your sound so much. And the sound in your films, in your commercials, in your social media videos is so important, because no one wants to listen to this sound. No one wants to listen to that sound if you're using a cheap lav microphone and you can hear people, people's clothes breathing or the cars outside. Get a really nice lav mic, because that's going to fix a lot of your issues. So we could have plugged this into something like a Zoom H6, which is what I'm recording to right now. But I think plugging this into the top handle of the Sony FX6 with its XLR inputs works so much simpler, so much faster for me, especially on run and gun shoots. If you have something really high quality that's always connected to your camera, whenever you turn your camera on, you're gonna get really nice audio from your talent. And the last thing is lighting. I really wish we could have gone crazy with the lighting, but the time, we just had to film so much. There's no way we could have set up each shot. The only artificial lighting that we brought in was for the interview. And for that, we brought in some Nanlite Pavo tubes. We have the Aperture 120D Mark II, which is what's key lighting me right now. And we use that for a key light on the Grandmaster. And the other light that we used was the Amaran 100X, which is right over there. And it's kind of providing some yellowy glow behind me. And this just separates the subject a little bit from the background. As you can see in the video, we used it to shine on the tapestry in the back, just to highlight that a little bit. Looking back, I wish we would have added some shapes in the shadows, just to make it a little bit more dynamic and not so kind of, just bleh on the wall. That's the best way I can describe it. But again, you just work with what you have. The lights of the studio were all top down and they were all kept on. And they were actually pretty nice lights. I don't recommend leaving on a lot of natural lights in your environment, because usually they flicker or they're orangey. But this studio had absolutely incredible lighting, so that was really helpful for just our B-roll shots in general. And we actually left those lights on when we were doing the interview portion. And we used just a black negative fill on the right side of the Grandmaster, just to try and provide a little bit more contrast on his face. I think that's one thing, again, if I would have gone back, I would have done that a little bit differently. I would have added more negative fill and maybe tried to just create more contrast and a little bit more intrigue in his face. If you guys are planning on shooting your own 2-minute promo video with a bunch of social media clips like this package was, here are some key takeaways for you to think about. Number one, budget for more time than you need. We had 6 hours on this shoot and I was like, oh yeah, it'll be totally fine. And then it just takes 2 times longer than you think it does. And like I said, if we would have had more time, we'll have done things differently, but we didn't. So budget for more time than you think you need. And I know this is tough to explain to a client, because they want to get the cheapest price usually, unfortunately. So if you can explain to the client, like, we need an hour to set up. We need 45 minutes to tear down. We need an hour to set up this different scene. It's going to improve the video tenfold. Number 2, choose the right equipment for the job. I could have used the Blackmagic 6K Pro to get a little bit more flexibility out of our image, but the Sony FX6, I wanted to use the autofocus tracking and just make it a little bit easier for myself as a solo shooter. And I do not regret my decision. I still got a wonderful look out of the camera, and it made it a lot less stressful on the day because I could trust that the autofocus was capturing the subjects as they did their moves. And number 3, sound design is so important to make an edit come to life. I showed you earlier all of the different layers of the sound design, and I could do a full breakdown of this, so let me know if you want to see that. But I think capturing the essence of Kung Fu in this video was really important. So picking out a soundtrack from a platform like Audio is really helpful. You have to search for so long. And I'm not saying that about any specific platform, but just in general, if you want to get the best sound or the best music for your film or commercial, you need to spend a long time usually looking for that soundtrack that fits just perfectly. Do not settle for anything less because there is a track that works perfectly for your film. You just haven't found it yet. And this is something that I used to kind of skip over earlier on. I would just settle for a subpar song that sounds okay. But now I really focus in on trying to find the right sound effects and the right music for my shots. All right, that just about wraps it up for this episode of breaking down a Kung Fu video. If you want to see more videos like this of breaking down editing or filmmaking, let me know because I would love to make them for you. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.